yes, happy day after your birthday.
Yes, it is the day after my birthday.
I'm very excited for you and your evening adventures. You'll have to let me know what they are. I'm
I
curious.
will. I will. I do know we're going to Longhorn. I do know that to
You
eat.
know,
So
my entire association with Longhorn is debate team because if we won,
really,
yes, if we won um the tournament or whatever, then Dan, our debate coach, would take us usually to Longhorn and he would buy us a steak. That was like our reward. I got a lot of
nice.
steaks, I won't lie. It was pretty good, but
You're like, yes, steak, please.
it's it's really funny now since I'm like I'd say 80% vegetarian at this point. I don't know the last time I had a steak. But
Yeah.
every time I see a Longhorn or someone mentions it, I'm like, Dan Shabbat, debate team.
Oh, that's funny.
I remember I think Lexington still has one. A Longhorn. I think it's off uh man, it's only been 3 years and I've forgotten all the roads. The one above Nicholasville Road. What is that? Amy used to live off of it.
Harrodsburg?
Thank you. God, I was like, what's the name of that stupid road? I think it was on Harrodsburg Road.
Once you said Amy, I was like, oh,
Back in
Harrodsburg.
the old days.
Yeah, back in the day, like
Like
way back.
when Anna was, a small little child.
Screaming, crying baby.
Oh. Yes, that was the house of the poop diaper explosion. It's one of those foundational experitions that led me to choose a life without children. I won't lie. It was
It
pretty
was
toxic.
so bad. It was it was bad.
I mean, like, in her defense, she felt a lot better after that, but, like, damn.
God. Oh, it was awful.
The trauma's still there. I still
I
have nightmares
mean,
about it.
I feel like that experience with her and the screaming and the crying, that one experience with Caleb where he pretended to die,
Oh my god.
and the one experience I had keeping the nursery at church where there were like 10 3-year-olds.
Ugh.
And it was like, I think it was me and Sarah, maybe me, or it was me and Sarah or me and Embry.
Mm-hmm.
And it was bad. There were so many children and not enough adults. And even then, Embry and I think it was Embry. Embry and I were not adults.
No.
We were like 16.
And they let
17.
you be in charge of 3-year-olds, which are basically the antichrist of children. I mean, at 3,
I mean, it's different
they're
if there's like
evil.
4.
Yeah.
Like 4, but that particular Sunday there were 10. And it was all boys.
Ugh.
And then Victoria Daly, who is now
Aww.
a happy, grown, functioning adult, getting married.
Mm-hmm.
And I see her and I'm like, oh, you were the worst. I'm
She
so
was.
glad that
She
you
was the
I'm
worst.
so glad that
Mm-hmm.
you have like risen past that.
I try not to judge people based on their preschool age behavior
Oh,
because
right.
they're
Like I
basically
would
just
never
sociopaths. But
100%.
after like second grade, okay, I'm gonna start judging you.
Oh yeah, right. I know. I would never be like, oh, she's a terrible person based on that one instance when she
Right.
was 3. I mean,
Well, that's my point though, is that 3-year-olds, or my experience, especially with the children, is that like 3 was the most sociopathic age. Like there's the terrible twos, but I feel like the terrible twos is really just to introduce you to the concept of the horrific
how
experience of 3.
how awful like just the toddler years
The
are going to be.
traumatic
100%.
3s.
Yes. I know everybody says terrible twos, but I feel like 3-year-olds are worse. I mean,
Ugh.
100% worse. Hi, friends.
Hi, everybody. And that's why we don't have children.
100% why we don't have children.
Welcome to the Brunch and Judge, the show where we judge other people who have children.
And everything else on the planet.
So, Claire, what are you
Yeah.
judging this week?
Okay, I'm judging two things.
Okay, good.
One is a minor thing that's just like, the other one's a little bit more major.
Okay.
So the minor thing is, here's story time. This past week was incredibly stressful at work. And also, for those of you who don't know, I am the president of the board of the community theater that is also, yeah, it's also super stressful. It has its moments. And it was like between work and theater, there was a lot of drama and ridiculousness going on. And it was just super stressful. And Tuesday, we had a truck lettering to do. This truck business, exterminating business, was getting their truck lettered. And we've done several other vehicles before.
Mm-hmm.
And so they drop it off. I was there by myself. And so I pulled the truck into one of the bays. And I left the keys in the cup holder, as I always do. Because, I mean, there have been times where it's like they come to pick up the truck and it's like, where are the keys?
Right.
We don't know. We don't know where the keys are. So I usually just leave them either like in the ignition or in the cup holder, just so they're with the truck,
Right.
Got out. And my boss came back from her part-time gig at the radio station. She lettered the truck. We called the people, they came to pick up the truck. And so I'm walking the woman from the front to the back shop to get the truck. And she goes to open the door and the door is locked.
No.
Yes. Door is locked. Yeah. Uh-huh.
And I'm sure she really handled that well too.
All the doors were locked. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so she's calling whoever dropped her off to see if they could come back and get her. And she's calling to ask, because this wasn't like a brand new truck. This was a used vehicle that they'd purchased, new to them, but used. It was a 2015 Dodge Ram. And they didn't get a second key because, most of the time when you get a used vehicle, they don't have, they don't have the second key available. Either the person didn't give it back or whatever.
Which, I'm like, I still have both of my keys. Like, come on, guys.
I know, when I got my Equinox, I got both keys.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody's like, oh, that's rare.
Special key place, and the other one I use because I don't know when I'm going to need the backup.
Right? Yeah. So everybody's like, oh, that's rare to get both keys. Because I know my coworker Natalie, she got an Equinox, and I don't think she got two keys.
I got both of mine. Mine was used.
I think she only got one key. So I guess it just depends.
I feel like we should be like, Equinox, you should sponsor us, right?
Right.
We're devoted.
So my judginess with this is car manufacturers. If you are going to make it where if a person leaves the keys in the car and the car is going to lock itself, you need to put a fucking keypad on the door with a code so people can get in the goddamn car.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had to call AAA. First off, my boss yelled at me, not the one who lettered the truck, but the other one. Lettered at me, lots of expletives about how I'm a dumbass, basically, for leaving the keys and I should have done XYZ, which I'm like,
oh, god damn him.
It's like, I have been here almost 16 years, and this has never been an issue. So don't act like this has not happened before, okay? So thankfully I had AAA. It took them 45 minutes to get there, but when he got there, it literally took him 2 minutes.
Yeah. It takes
to
no
get
time
into the car.
Which is kind of terrifying, actually.
I know. He was just like, is there anything else we can do? And I'm like, nope. Nope, it's all
just
good.
help me break into this car. It's fine.
Yeah, I know. So, but the lady was super chill about it. She was like, and then she makes the comment. This is what was funny. She makes the comment. She's like, oh, I guess this is why all the guys leave the windows rolled down when they leave the trucks at the shop. Like they're, wherever.
At their place.
Yeah. And she said half the time she'll come out at the end of the day and she'll have to roll all these windows up because they leave the windows rolled down because they're leaving the keys in the car.
Well,
and I'm like, oh,
pro tip.
Yeah.
So many moons ago or many cars ago, I'm not sure which, we had a spare key made for whatever vehicle I was driving. It wouldn't turn on the car, but it would unlock the door. For just that very reason, because we only had one set of keys. I can't remember which. It's super old, but I was like,
see, I had that with my Honda.
Mm-hmm.
I had that with my Honda CRV because it had the same issue.
Yeah.
There's one time I was like, had my arms full of junk because I was loading up to go to mom and dad's, and I just dropped everything in the back seat and I shut the door. And as I'm walking away, I heard click, and I'm like, son of a bitch. So again, I had to call AAA. I mean, you'd think, again, put keypads, and granted, that car was old. That was a 96 Honda CRV. I love that vehicle. But, you know, like, as technology has progressed, you would think, oh, if we're going to put this, you know, design on this car, we need to put keypads on the outside so people can get in with a code, because that's a thing.
Mm-hmm. Well,
because even on that car, the car that my family so lovingly called the Matthew Mobile,
right?
It was this really old. Oh God, what was it? It was a Crown Vic. It was old. It was awful.
So old.
It was awful.
It was
Everybody
1990s Law and Order Crown Vic, and I loved it.
Oh yeah. My dad bought it off an old guy at church, and his name was Matthew, so that's why we dubbed it the Matthew Mobile. But it was like a 90s model, but when Dad bought it, I swear to you, it only had like 80,000 miles on it. So Dad bought this, a cheap vehicle, as, you know, just something he'd drive to work. But even it had a keypad on the outside, and my dad like never carried his keys anywhere because he could just leave the keys above the visor, lock the door, and then get in with the keypad. So, note to all of you car manufacturers out there, do that. Do it. Because
get right.
Everything else is a pain in the ass. All right. Like I said, she was super cool. She was very, you know, it was just like, she came back. She did find somebody to come get her. So then she came back, she got the car, she was super nice. And then she sent us a nice little email that was like, everybody really loves the truck. I've got so many compliments.
Aww.
Thank you for your fast, friendly service. And it's like, oh, thank you, Jesus. You know?
Thank you for not making this even worse.
I know. I mean, she was like, she could have been a total bitch about it, and she was not. So that, I was thankful for that, because that would have made my day even more stressful.
Right?
Right? Oh my gosh. It was just like, are you kidding me right now? Like, everything else that was going on, it was just like, this is the cherry on top of this day, let me tell you. But anyway, so that's my why car manufacturers should put keypads on the outside on the doors.
So are you telling me that you were betrayed by the car this week, just like the tarot card said?
Oh my gosh! Stop it! Oh, stop it! Oh, geez, don't even. Oh, stop. So anyway, on to my second judgy thing. And this one's a little bit more major and a little bit more in depth, because I've been raging about it all week long. The International Olympic Committee can go eat a bag of dicks because of this whole mess with the Russian figure skater. Camilla, was it Camilla? Something or other. I can't, you know, Russian names. But this 15-year-old figure skater popped positive in December. They are just now finding out about it. But then they're like, oh, she's underage, so she's a protected person.
What?
So we're going to allow her to skate.
What?
That's what they said, because she's underage. She's considered a quote-unquote protected person.
Which means she can dope as much as she wants? The fuck?
I guess because it's like, oh, well, if her coaches told her to do it. Yeah, but that's what I've been reading, is that she's a protected person, so we'll let her skate. But if she wins the gold, then there's not going to be any medal ceremony, because we're still investigating. But meanwhile, back in the Summer Olympics, Sha'Carri Richardson, who is a U.S. runner, was not allowed to run in the Tokyo Olympics because she popped positive for marijuana, which, granted, is considered a banned substance, but it's not considered a banned substance because it is performance enhancing. It's just a banned substance because people are stupid about marijuana and don't know what it's about. Well, they think they know, but they don't. Because let me tell you this, if she popped positive for marijuana, but she still beat all those people, that to me is an even bigger testament to how fast she fucking is.
Right.
Because
marijuana slows you down.
Marijuana does the exact opposite. It makes you like, oh, I just want to lay here and be lazy. You know, it's like, because it's not considered performance enhancing, you know. And she said her mom died. You know, I really
Yes, I
feel
was
like
gonna
if
say.
somebody, and if she actually smoked it in a state that was legal, you know, I mean, she's not been arrested for this, but still, they're like, oh, you had marijuana in your system. We can't let you run.
Tisk
But this chick
tisk.
had, this other Russian girl had, 15-year-old had this heart medication in her system that increases blood flow to the heart, which is
Right.
considered performance enhancing.
Right.
And they're still going to let her skate because she's 15.
And
And granted, I think there's been enough uproar about it now that there are things happening where they're considering upping the age or putting like some kind of age thing on who
well,
can compete in the Olympics, like a minimum age requirement,
oh yeah,
like maybe like
that's
16 or
fair,
17, you
honestly.
know,
Like
16 or 17, because some of these,
yeah.
especially Russian and Chinese people, they're like 13, 14 years old.
Mhm.
And they, and I get it. I'm not really mad at this Russian figure skater. I'm not. It's the Olympic Committee that I'm aggravated at.
Right.
Because I feel like Russia is up there with like China and North Korea on, we're going to keep our people under our thumb and they can't do anything without our
Right.
approval. And if
Well,
you're in the
and
Olympics,
if your coach is telling you you have to take this drug, you're gonna be like,
right?
okay.
Because you're a 15-year-old
Yeah.
girl and you're tiny, you
Well,
know,
yeah. And you're from a country that doesn't give you choice. You do what you're supposed
it
to
is. It's
do.
just like you do what your country tells you to do. So, I mean, that's my beef with the Olympic Committee is it's like, where was the fairness in any of this? But yeah, this particular Olympics has been a shit show as far as the figure skating's been concerned.
Yeah.
I mean, because it is. It was just like once they came out and said, "Oh, she's still allowed to skate," and then I know that Sha'Carri Richardson came out with, she tweeted about it, and
Of course.
I mean, I'm not going to be as bold to go out and say it is a race thing, but I
But
mean,
it feels,
right?
whether it's racially motivated or it's sport motivated, because
Right. But the
figure
Olympic
skating
Committee,
is like the
yeah.
woo of Winter Olympics.
Well, and I mean, and figure skating is very subjective.
Mhm.
You know, it's all about the judges. Like, I guess running, there's really no subjection to that. It's just who's the fucking fastest. You
Yeah.
know, it's not, you know, judges, like, it's just timed. You know, it's all time and that's it.
Yeah.
But I get, you know, figure skating is more subjective and it's all what the judges perceive. And each judge is different. And, you know, certain tricks I do know have certain point values, that thing, but it's all about what the judges think.
Right.
And but the what also aggravated me was the Olympic Committee came out and they were like, "Well, you can't compare the two because they're from two different countries." Had nothing to do with what the sport was. It was because they were from two different countries, and I'm like, "Why does that matter? That's
Yeah.
dumb."
It's like, excuse me?
Exactly. So I just feel like, you know, again, like I said, Olympic Committee can eat a bag of dicks because they don't know what the hell they're doing, obviously. Because I mean, I do. I feel like this whole Olympics has kind of been a shit show. So,
Yeah. Well, I feel like, in the last 3 years have been a shit show, so every time we try and do something that requires a lot of people coming together, it just falls apart.
oh yeah,
So,
100%. It's just like,
regardless of
no,
even, the athletes going to, places to perform, to do the trials and all this stuff, no one's watching. Like, it's weird. Everything's weird. And I
I know everything is still weird. It's still just weird all the way around. Absolutely. So anyway, those are my judges this week.
Very nice. You've had a busy week.
I have. So what are you judging this week?
So I have a personal judge for the week.
Ooh.
It too has been kind of a shit show of a week. I can't quite put my finger on why. Just bananas. But yesterday I had two things that I would like to judge. I had a very busy day yesterday. The first 4 hours of my day I spent in CPR/first aid training so that I can, I guess save people. I mean, at this point,
Did they tell you to pump their heart to the beat of Staying Alive?
Mm-hmm. Sure did. Sure did.
I just think of The Office every time anybody says, "Oh, I had CPR training," and I immediately think of that.
But so like it's city employee wide, so it was a lot of. I mean, there's only like 8 of us. They're doing lots of small classes, and I didn't know really anyone else. So I'm just in there like,
were you like the only library person there?
No. Our new cataloger was there, and you know, we sang "Staying Alive" together as we, you know, gave CPR to dummies. But
nice.
But so it's mostly people that like I don't know, but that work in various city offices, and you need to understand, I work in a state in which we still have a mask mandate. So I think they're considering rescinding it at the end of March. I don't know. I know that the state I live in is potentially letting it go on the 21st of March. But like I live in states that took this pretty seriously, doing their best to try and keep as many people safe as they can. I mean, of course, when you go anywhere, there's always going to be somebody not wearing a mask, but...
Oh, always.
But
always,
the mandate is still in place, and the city itself has the mandate. Like, all of our buildings, you have to wear a mask to come into the building. This particular training took place not on city property. It was at the community college, which I think also has a mask mandate. Because
I know our community college does. Like,
well,
it's whatever the governor says, the
because it's part of the
college
state
follows that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And, like, they actually enforce it. So
yeah. Well, I know ours does too. You know, because that's where the theater performs now, is at the community college. And actually, we've had people. That was another part of the stressor stuff. Is people keep dropping out of shows because they don't want to wear masks. And it's like, it's not our deal. We're a guest at the college.
Right.
It's their rule. I don't know what to tell you people.
Well, and so, like, it's one of those, I don't really care what side you're on in the land of whether we should be wearing masks or not. I mean, I'm tired of that, quite honestly. But I am in the world of whatever the governing body of wherever the hell you are says is the current policy. You abide by that policy or you leave. I mean, whatever.
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
So, all of us are city employees. We all have the state mandate. We all have a city mandate. So we're all wearing masks. And our trainer is also wearing a mask. But the first thing she says is, she's like, if you don't want to wear a mask, you know, we don't really have to. I don't really want to wear one. And so she took hers off. And I'm like, you're a healthcare professional. What the hell?
But I mean, it's just like, you're doing CPR. I mean, obviously you're like...
I'm there learning to do CPR. I'm there learning to do first aid. We're learning how to take off gloves correctly so that way we don't get like pathogens and things on our skin, and learning all of this crap. And she's not wearing a mask, and I'm dying inside because I'm like, oh my God. I mean, for so many reasons, but what the hell?
I feel like somebody needs to report her. I don't even know if it's report's the right word.
Well, and it was like,
have a conversation. I don't know.
And then what made me laugh is, you know, like I am wearing, like I have reached level of wearing N95 masks. I hadn't been, but the most recent Omicron strain, I'm like, I'm trying really hard to not bring it home. Like I don't want to give it to Spencer. Because he takes a drug that lowers his immunoresponse. So I'm just trying to be as careful as I can because I have someone that it could really impact. So, you know, whatever. But I just was like, I couldn't get over it because it was literally just her and then 2 guys who work in I don't remember what the department is called. It may just be called something stupid like Public Works because cities.
Probably.
But like their actual job is they deal with the sewer system, so like send cameras down into the disgusting, nasty sewer system, and they're not wearing masks.
That sounds like a Public Works job. That's what that sounds like.
So like they took their masks off because they're like, whatever. I mean, we come in contact with the plague every day, so who cares?
I know, right? Yeah. They're like, We're dealing with the sewage system, so I think we're good.
And so like I'm cracking up at them because so we do our CPR on like the CPR dummy guy. And then like we learn how to save people from choking and yada yada. And then we have to learn CPR on babies. And so like there's these big burly guys who spend their lives literally in the sewer going doo, 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 with their little fingers. Oh god. But like it's kind of a train wreck, really. But I learned how to give EpiPen shots, so I'm ready.
Nice. That could be useful.
Learned how to pack wounds if I need to and make a tourniquet, and I'm like, cool. I'm basically a doctor now, Claire. It only took a 4-hour class.
Well, I mean, like we were saying, you did watch all those many hours of Grey's Anatomy. So I think all you have left to do is go stay at a Holiday Inn Express, and I think we're good to go. You're just good to go after that.
Well, I've never had like an official CPR training ever. Just had never done it.
Yeah.
But so me and one other person hadn't ever had official CPR training. Everyone else was there to like recertify or whatever. So like she took us to the back to make sure that we could actually do it, and like we're like pumping them or the in time and doing all this stuff, yada yada. And she's like, "You guys have done this before," and I was like, "No, but I've watched all the seasons of Grey's Anatomy, so I mean I'm kind of there for it."
You're like, I've watched it. I know what I'm doing.
It's like, no, but I saw TV, so it's the same thing. To be fair, they actually are pretty accurate on TV for CPR.
As far as like CPRs go, yeah. It's like, you mean hours of CSI I've watched? I mean, I could basically be a lab tech. I mean, 100%.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's not hard. You just put stuff in a test tube, you drop the stuff in,
the button.
And then you stick it in the thing, and then you press the button, it goes, and then you just wait for the computer to magically tell you what it is.
Yep, it just prints it out. It's fine. It's so easy.
And it only takes 20 minutes.
Only, yes.
Yes. It is not a multi-day process.
Never longer. Never longer. Oh, well, that is an excellent judge. I love it.
Thank you. I have a subsequent judge that is a positive. Yes. It's a positive judge. I'm super excited for it.
Okay,
so
good. Positive judge.
That was my morning. My afternoon, I went on a ghost tour of the town that I work in. I'll not mention it because they're small towns. Don't find me. But we to try and see if the woman who is leading it would do a program for the library. I want her to lead ghost tours this summer for like a couple of fun times, because our summer reading program is reading. Oh god, my brain keeps switching it. Reading Beyond the Beaten Path. And I always hear beaten off every time someone says it, and I can't stop. So every time it comes up, I laugh, and people are like, "What?" They're like, "I can't help it."
You're like, my brain just
whoever named this did not think it through. But so we're focusing a lot on outdoor things and activities, and I'm like, I have to do adult programming, so how about a ghost walk? But so nice. I went on it. And it was excellent. The town in which I work is filled with all sorts of buildings that used to be saloons, with houses of ill repute nearby.
Nice.
And I'm not talking, I mean, it's a tiny, tiny town. You've been there. It's not big. It's a small town. But I'm talking like 10, 15 of the buildings were saloons.
Wow. That's a lot of drinking for that small town.
It's pretty
back
insane.
In the day.
But so also I learned there are red circles, maybe like this-ish big, in windows throughout town. And if there's a red circle in a window, that means that it was a house of ill repute back in the old days. There's quite a few. But the...
Wow.
Yeah, so just look for the red circle so you know where to go. I don't know.
Nice.
But the thing that I love so much is that in their attempt to make basically whorehouses / houses of ill repute sound less, I guess, saucy, inappropriate, etc.
Desirable, less desirable.
To try and make it more family friendly, because it's, kind of like a 12 and up sort of tour.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They call them places of negotiable affection.
What? Oh my gosh.
And like the first time she said it, like I was like, negotiable affection. I went, oh. And I laughed so hard. Like, this is my new favorite way, because it's almost sex positive.
Wow. I'm gonna have to like put that in my memory palace. Negotiable
affections.
Wow, that's fantastic. I love that so much.
I loved it so much that I was like, I'm gonna remember this. I like texted it to my family and my family text group. I'm like, guys, this is everything.
That is awesome. I love it.
So that's my very positive judge.
That's an excellent positive judge. I did enjoy that. Thank you very much. That was fantastic.
I'm going to hold on to that. So if I ever have a story in which there is, a whorehouse or a sex trade or a ill repute or any of that, I'm going to be like, negotiable affections.
Gotcha.
And so that's what I judged this week.
Nice. I love it. That was excellent.
Yay, thank you.
Woo, party. All right. So this week we're talking about UFOs.
Yes!
Jumping right in on that crazy. The Wheel of Fate decided we were talking about UFOs this week.
And I'm like, thank you, Wheel of Fate.
Because this has been, ooh, man, my research. Holy cow.
Like, so I wonder if I should go first this week.
I think you should.
Because I think mine ties in with yours. Just a tiny little bit. Just a smidge.
Probably. Right. So, yeah, you go on.
Okay,
Blaze
so
that trail.
My story this week, in which UFOs is featured, is actually two smaller stories. The first one being the origin of flying saucers. And the second one...
I think you're right. I think that kind of comes into play with my story as well. So.
Mm-hmm. And then the second one is the origin of little green men. Nice. Which are basically our UFO stereotypes, right?
100%. It's always flying saucer, little green men, which is why, Apple has that emoji with that stereotypical, like, face shape for the alien with the big eyes. Yeah. That's, like, the stereotype.
Well, I'm here to tell you how they came about and why they're wrong.
Awesome. Let's
Stereotypes are wrong, Claire. You understand?
They are absolutely wrong.
Okay, so my first story is about a guy named Kenneth Arnold, who is from my area of the woods, the Washington, Oregon area.
And his name is also in my story.
I know! I figured it had to be. It had to be.
It is, yep.
All right, so for this story, I got my information from a History.com article and an article from The Atlantic called The Man Who Introduced the World to Flying Saucers. Cool. By Megan Garber. So if you're listening, Megan Garber, thank you for writing that article. It's very helpful. So I'm taking you back to June 24th, 1947. Ooh. It's about 3 o'clock, so, nice middle of the day. Amateur pilot Kenneth Arnold, who's originally from Idaho, is flying over Mineral, Washington, en route to an air show in Oregon. So, apparently, a few days before, a Marine Corps transport plane had crashed near Mount Rainier. And anyone who could find the wreckage, there's like a $5,000 reward for it. So he kind of took a detour just to see if he could find it. Quick little glance over. Is there any wreckage? $5,000 in 1947.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
That was a significant chunk of change back then.
That's $5,000 today sounds amazing. So it's probably like $50,000 or something at this point. I'm like, that's a lot of money. So I also would take that detour. I'd be like, do.
I mean, why not like throw your hat in the ring?
Yeah,
You know, I'm just gonna go check it out. If I find it,
it's not
goody
out
for
of
me.
the way.
You know, if I don't find it, then whatever.
It's like it's you know, it's just gasoline. It's only 10 cents a gallon back then, I'm sure. So
was it even 10 cents back then? It may
it's probably like
nickel.
free. Take your gasoline. Take it. Take it.
Right?
But so as he is flying near Mount Rainier, he suddenly sees a bright flash of light. He said it reminded him of when like the sun hits a mirror and it kind of blinds you a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And gets in your eyes, and he's like, "Bah!" And so at first he thought it was another plane, like maybe almost hitting him another plane, which fear. That sounds awful.
That's terrifying.
Right? But there was only one other plane nearby, and it was about 15 miles away from him. So he was like, well, that's not what it was. And so he was like, okay, whatever. But then the light flashing came again. And there were like 9 flashes, he said, in rapid succession. So at this point, he's like, the heck? Because, you know, giant airspace. And he sees 9 objects in the sky. He says that they are kind of glowing bright blue, and they're flying in a V formation, kind of like geese do, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yes. The flying V from Mighty Ducks.
That's right. Kind of like the flying V from Mighty Ducks.
We are 90s kids, if you all couldn't tell.
What she's saying is we are the best kids.
We were born in the 80s, but our formative years were like all 90s.
That's right. So those butterfly clips that you kids like today, we invented that. You're welcome.
Scrunchies, I mean, come on.
Oh, the scrunchies. Okay, back to my aliens. So
Sorry.
No. Good distraction. Tangents. So he is looking at these 9 objects in the sky, and he kind of calculates that they are flying on the same like plane, like the same
level.
Area. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But that the distance between like the furthest of the 9 objects is probably about 5 miles. So that
because he is up in the air with them, right?
Up
like
in
he
the
is
air,
in a plane. Yes. Okay.
He's in a plane flying around, having a good old time.
Yes.
So he notices that they are moving in unison. So they may weave or dart. He even saw them flip and like do like a bank move.
Like a school of fish?
Kind of, yeah. or maybe even like a flock of birds do. Like you've seen them practice is what.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he decided to try and estimate how fast they were going because they just looked very different than anything he'd seen before. And so he used the travel time it took them to get between Mount Rainier and Mount Adams, which I can see in my backyard. It's that way. Over there.
I remember Mount Adams when I came to visit.
That's right. And apparently the distance, which this is surprising, I had no idea that they were as close, but Mount Rainier and Mount Adams are only 50 miles apart. Cool.
Really? Only 50?
Only 50 miles apart. I mean, it takes a hell of a lot longer to get there because roads, but yeah.
I feel like that's also kind of like when we went to, what was that? The Overlook Hotel. What's its real name?
Oh, Timberline.
Timberline, yeah. When we went there and we were sitting at the base and that sign said it was only 3.5 miles.
And we're like, but it's right
to the top.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're sitting at the base and you're like, how is that only 3.5 miles to the top?
He's like,
to the summit. You know, and I was like, that's like a 5K.
Yeah.
But I guess when you're like up in the air like that, things are, the way you perceive them are different. Because you'd think, that's not 50 miles? I would figure it would have been more than that.
Yeah. Well, because Mount Rainier is near Seattle, and that's like a 4.5 hour drive from here. So I'm like,
I guess, it's like.
And Mount Adams is literally like a 20-minute drive. It's
like that right as the crow flies.
Right.
You know,
as the crow flies.
You don't have to go by roads. Do what?
I said like as the crow flies.
Yeah. Exactly. So, okay, 50 miles between Mount Adams and Mount Rainier.
At least up in the air, I guess. I don't know what.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, like just a straight shot.
But so it only took them 1 minute and 42 seconds to go that 50-mile distance.
What?
So he estimated that the speed of these objects was around 1,700 miles per hour.
That's around the number that I had in my article that I read. So
Oh,
yes.
good. I'm glad that all of our sources are confirming each other.
Right.
Which
mine gave like a range. It was like 1,500. It was like 1,200, 1,500, 1,700. Those were the numbers that I had seen when I was looking up for my story. So.
And so, at the time, that was 3 times faster than any aircraft was capable of going. So that's kind of crazy. And is it actually more than twice the speed of sound? And the dude that first broke the sound barrier, I don't remember his name because I didn't write that down. Like his attempt and I guess success at going the speed of sound was later that year, and he just was like barely faster than the speed of sound, not 2 times faster.
Yeah, not.
So it's like, this doesn't really exist yet. But so, good old Kenneth Arnold is watching all this and he has the foresight to try and calculate how fast they're going and the distance between everything. I'm like, he's just also mathing in the air.
The guy who broke the speed of sound was Chuck Yeager.
Yes, it is Chuck Yeager. I knew I would remember it eventually, like if I heard it. But so he's just enjoying his flight still. I don't know. And he ends up landing about an hour later in Yakima. Because I want to know what
your thought process is when you're up in the air.
Right.
I mean, you're not even seeing these things from the ground. You're up with them.
Yeah.
And you see that. Like, what? What is going through your head? You're just like, am I hallucinating? Am I having a stroke? I mean, is that what you're thinking when you see that kind of thing?
And his initial thought was that it was some kind of like military aircraft test because there's, military
100.
things all around or whatever. So he wasn't super freaked out about it or anything while it was happening. He was just like, whoa, that's so cool. He's doing like the bruh thing. Like, bruh, that's so cool. You can totally see it.
Yeah.
And so when he lands in Yakima, which is a place he'd been several times before, like he had friends there, he knew the staff. Like he's just like, hey guys, you won't believe what I saw, and he's just kind of telling them about it in a whoa, it's so cool, blah 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 way. And then he just refueled his plane and continued on to Pendleton, Oregon, which is where he was going to the air show. And after he left, like the people he had told, of course, kept talking about it. The story spread like wildfire. Mm-hmm. So fast, in fact, it reached Pendleton, his phones, before he did. So like he lands in Pendleton, everybody already knows about, like, good, tell us about the, what you saw and blah blah blah. So like the very next day, because like it had reached like the reporters' ears at the newspaper, a newspaper was interviewing him about it, and he, was talking. Good old Kenneth was talking to them and emphasized the unidentified part because he was like, I don't know what it was I saw. Because at this point, I think the military had said we didn't have any test flights going on. There's nothing happening. So don't know what you saw. Probably just some geese. And like, I don't think it's geese. That's not, that's not what it was. But there's also a prospector, because gold rush, on Mount Adams, who saw the same thing. Like, he saw those same objects. So he had someone else that was saying, no, this really was happening. I saw them from the ground. Mm-hmm. But so in his interview, Kenneth tried to describe how the objects that he saw were moving, and he said, they flew like a saucer if you skip it across the water. And the newspaper just reported it as flying saucers. And so That's how the legend was born. One of the articles I read said it was probably one of the most significant reporter misquotes in history because he wasn't saying that it was round like a saucer.
Yeah, he wasn't saying it
He
looked
said
like it.
It flew at
Yeah.
like you would skip a saucer on water, like really like a small rock.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But so
because what I had was it was like they were actually like a crescent shape.
Yes, and in fact, I have a picture for you, Claire.
You did.
I sent you a picture. I'm going to add it to our video feed, and Claire will add it to our Instagram for those who are listening only, where he actually has an artist rendition of what he saw, and it is not a saucer.
No. Kind of looks like a croissant. Not gonna lie.
Does. It's like a moon with a sharp middle piece.
Yeah.
Sort of boomerangy.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, a little bit more curved than like a boomerang. Yeah, is how I would describe that.
But so like not like a saucer at all, no. Really. Like it's curved, but it's
not like the solid circular disc object that we all know.
Right.
And the stereotypical flying saucer that we have seen in cartoons and movies and all that. It's not that at all.
Well, and so like after, because this, of course, this newspaper report story blew up everywhere because, I mean, it's 1947. Let's have something interesting.
They had nothing else going on.
No, not a thing. So, and so suddenly everyone was seeing them, and so like by July 4th, a United Airline crew on just a flight across country reported seeing 9 disc-like objects over Idaho. And for the rest of 1947, because there's like just in that year, 853 flying disc/saucer reports were in newspapers across the country, representing like nearly all 50 states. So like it immediately like solidified in people's minds that there's these round things that are flying through the air with aliens in them. And it was found everywhere, comic books, TV shows, movies, very prevalent in the 1950s, just that whole concept of a saucer-shaped spaceship, even though that is not what he saw. Not even close to what he saw.
Like I said, everything that was put out after that's like, that's not what it was. You know,
and then,
like you can't, and I feel like it's like once it's out there kind of like that, you really can't retract it at that point.
Well,
it's like,
like he apparently in like later interviews, like in the 60s, was like, I never said it was a flying saucer. It's not what I said.
Yes, I was like, those were not my words.
But it apparently was a great headline, and that's how it all went down. Thank you, reporters. But 2 weeks after this incident, at a ranch in Roswell, an object crashed that was first stated to be a flying disc. So that is the story of how we got flying saucers into our UFO vernacular.
Which are completely wrong. But
yes. But I mean, what are you going to do? Well, maybe the aliens decided, they said saucers, maybe we should just do a redesign to help them better accept us. And that's why they're saucers.
Because that's what they're expecting. So we just need to completely redesign our spaceships to make them know that it's us.
Right. I mean, it's brand recognition. That's what it is.
That's right. Yep.
All right, so we're going to skip ahead to the year of 1955. The date is August 21st. And we're meeting the Sutton family, who live in a tiny rural community of Kelly, Kentucky. What?
Oh, boy.
So, the Sutton family lives in a 3-room, unpainted farmhouse. They're in the middle of nowhere. They have no running water. They have no telephone, no radio, no TV, and no books. And I don't know why that was included in the article, but by golly, it was, and I was offended immediately. No books?
I wonder if that's just to say that maybe these people had not heard.
We're not, Like reading a
if they
book that
didn't
made
have,
them think they were saying things. Yeah.
yeah, so it's like they didn't have any preconceived notions. Maybe, I don't know.
Oh yeah, maybe that's the point.
Maybe that's why that person included that in the thing. Like these people had zero preconceived notions because of media or radio or TV or whatever at that point, because they were so isolated.
That's a
So
good
what they
point.
saw is, I don't know. That's the only reason I can think of why they would include something like they had no books.
I was just like, I'm sad. Like my heart hurts. I can't imagine being
right.
like, there's not any room in this place that doesn't have at least a book in it. I don't.
Right.
But so in this 3-room unpainted farmhouse that with nothing to do inside, there were 8 adults and 3 kids. It's a lot of people, but
that is a lot of people.
What do I know? But to be fair, Billy Ray Taylor, who was 21 at the time, and his 18-year-old wife were 2 of the adults that were visiting. They were actually from Pennsylvania, but knew Lucky Sutton, who did live there, because they worked together in a traveling carnival. Because they're actually Carnies, and I love it so much. The fact that they're Carnies makes this story next level amazing, because I'm like, if there were any other people that this happened to, it wouldn't be nearly as exciting. These are Carney folk. Like 1950 yes. Carney folk, which is a whole different ballgame.
I mean, yeah, I feel like 1950s Carnies are not the same Carnies
well, I mean,
that we know of.
Like, they're rough and, like,
oh yeah,
capable human beings that, you know,
like,
they're like
yeah, you know, Carnies, I feel, especially back then, they lived hard lives.
Yeah.
That's not an easy life, you know, so I feel like these people have seen some shit. They've seen some shit go down. You know, so,
I mean, well, and like they're
these
not
are not delicate folks,
right? These
so,
are not people who are gonna spook easy,
right?
you
yes,
know, they're
yes,
and they're not. I mean, they seem like the exact kind of people that you want for an alien invasion. That they're just gonna be like, "All right, boys, let's get it," you know.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm like,
yes,
thank you, 1950s Carney folk, because you made the story next level amazing. But so the other people who lived here, the rest of the Suttons, their matriarch was 50-year-old widow Glennie Lankford. And she had 2 older sons, one of which was Lucky Sutton. Their wives also lived there. And there's a random brother-in-law, apparently. Whatever. And then Glennie had 3 younger children that were 12, 10, and 7. So we have all of these people in this I can't get beyond the 3-room farmhouse. I'm like, that's small, but okay.
Yeah. People were sleeping on the floor and sharing beds. Yep.
They were having a good time. So around 7:00, and this is in June, so it's still daylight.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Billy goes to fetch water from the backyard well, because remember, they have no running water. So he goes to the backyard well, and he sees a silvery object in the sky. He said, this is his quote, direct quote. Thank you, Billy. Real bright, with an exhaust all the colors of the rainbow.
Was it the Lucky Charms leprechaun?
Oh my God, I want that. Well, Lucky did live there, so, like, that seems reasonable.
Oh, that's what I think of when he said with an exhaust, all the colors of the rainbow.
All the colors of the rainbow.
That's what I think of.
They're amazing. But he watched it come silently toward the house, pass over the house, stop in the air, and then just drop straight to the ground.
Did he try to go find it, or did he go, like, tell people?
So he goes to tell the rest of the crew, you know, all the people still inside, doing whatever you're doing. I don't know what they're doing, because my mind can't fathom. Like, I can fathom no radio, no TV. I cannot fathom no books. Like, are you just playing jacks? Is that all you have? Jacks and cards? Is that how you pass time? I don't know.
Knitting, maybe?
Ooh, knitting. That's fair. But so,
knitting? That's the only thing I could think of. It's like knitting? I don't know.
But so, like, he's telling them, and they all laugh at him and didn't believe him.
Of course they do.
Well, because they're like, ha, 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 ha. Sure it did. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I guess he just accepted that and was like, okay, because it's literally an hour later at 8 p.m. where the story picks back up again. So it's 8 o'clock, and the dog outside will not stop barking. Just incessant, nonstop
It's probably
barking.
still light outside.
It should be, yeah. It's only 8 o'clock. It's June.
Did you say early June?
Oh, I'm kidding. It's not June. It's August. It's August 21st.
Still, but I mean that's not that far after.
Well, I mean it's evening.
Equinox.
Like it's not like dark. If it is darkish, it's dusk maybe by 8. You can still see.
No, I do feel like though in August it's still fairly bright. Like I feel like it doesn't start getting dark until like 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Right.
I mean it's not like it's December in Kentucky where it's dark at 5:30.
And I'm pretty sure these people are in Central Time, so it probably is still fairly light.
Oh, if they're not Eastern Time, yeah.
Right, because they'd be at the front end of Central Time, and
gotcha. Oh yeah, definitely.
So definitely still light.
Mm-hmm.
Very much
so
able to see.
So it's not like it was dark outside and he really couldn't see. Yeah, no.
Right.
None of that.
Although I think it must be duskish because it seems a little darkish out. Because Lucky and Billy, who are our protagonists in the story, they go to the back door and they see a strange glow. And in the midst of that glow, they see a humanoid creature. I love the word humanoid.
Yeah, I'm enjoying that. Yep, humanoid.
Okay, so they describe it as being 3.5 feet tall with an oversized head that is almost perfectly round.
Okay.
Its arms are so long that they extend almost to the ground. And on the hands, there are talons.
Anytime I hear the word talons, I think of, what is that? Napoleon Dynamite. Oh, large talons.
Talons. I have no talons. So they had talons, and they had oversized eyes that glowed with a yellowish light.
So were they cats? I mean,
that's a big ass cat.
I know, right?
They said that their bodies gave off this eerie shimmer in the light of the moon, so it must have been duskishy, darkish.
Mm-hmm.
They said it looked as if it was made of silver metal. So very silvery sheen. Green? They were silvery, sheenish.
Gotcha.
Nice silver, nice metallic, shiny skin.
Gotcha.
Now, of course, we're talking about Carney. Good Carney folk. Who live in the middle of frickin' nowhere. A very rural life. So, of course, and good Kentuckians, the first thing they do, of course, is go and grab their shotgun. It's fair.
I mean, yeah, that's a fair assessment.
I probably would too if I were in that situation and I had a shotgun.
And you had never seen anything like that before?
No.
I mean, yeah.
And so they grab their guns and they fire at the quote-unquote little man. Its hands now raised as one would do, like being held up at gunpoint. Like apparently it had put its arms up in the air.
Yeah, like I'm not armed. I don't have anything. Yeah.
And so like they shot at it. It didn't seem to hurt it at all, but it did a weird flip and then scrambled. Like it flipped and like I guess fell into the earth, like fell into the field, the grass. I don't know, because then it scrambled right back up and then fled into the darkness. But it didn't nothing seemed to pierce it. Didn't seem injured. It just flipped and ran into the darkness. I don't know.
So they skirted.
They skirted it away. That's right.
They skirted away.
So
it's feared.
They're freaked out. I mean, it's fair. So they go inside.
I mean, yeah, those are some fair feelings. I would be. I mean, even if I wasn't back then, I feel like now I'd be like, "What is happening?"
Yeah, I'd be screaming, tears down my face, ah! Yeah. So shortly after that, they see another one appear in their side window. So of course they fire at the window screen. Like I guess the window's open because hot.
Yeah.
But so they're shooting
So
at
they're
the
back
window
in the
screen.
house at
Yeah,
this
they're
point.
back in the house.
Okay.
So they're inside and they're shooting at the window screen. And again, this creature seems to be impervious to the bullets. Like it's like
Interesting.
But again it flips. It does another weird flip and then disappears. Runs away. And so then Glennie, our 50-year-old matriarch, she is in the hallway of the house, crouched next to Billy, when another creature comes up to the door.
Oh my gosh.
And
so this is
creature number 3.
It's not the same one?
Well, they don't know. They keep saying another creature or a similar creature. It could be the same one, but I don't.
But nobody knows.
They think there's more than one, and there comes a time when I guess they are seeing 2.
Oh, at least 2.
At least 2. But so she sees it come up to the door. This is the first time she's seen it, I think. And so she describes it. I love Glennie. I love her. It looked like a 5-gallon gasoline can with a head on top and small legs.
What?
It was a shimmering bright metal like my refrigerator.
Like my refrigerator.
Which back then I think were all like the stainless steel kind of.
Oh yeah.
Like I think they were all like aluminum maybe or whatever the hell they were made out of. Probably lead. It was probably poisonous because 50s.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
But so after that, Billy, because he's our brave guy, he steps outside again and is under a small like overhanging roof. I guess getting a look to see what's coming, etc. And the Suttons are all behind him inside the house, and they see a claw-like hand reach down like from the roof and touch his hair. And then they all scream and freak the shit out because that's the correct response. Like, oh my god, you gotta get
it. Reminds me of like that. You talking about that reminds me of the movie Signs.
Yes,
that like scared the shit out of me. Like the jump scares,
right?
Like not the aliens themselves, but I'm very much opposed to jump scares.
Same.
I scream. People don't like going to the movies with me if we go to see a scary movie because the jump scares get me every single time. And that's what like where you like he was like looking under the door and then that thing's fingers come out and he chops the fingers off. Like that's what that, you know, or like when they're down in the basement and the kid is standing against the wall and that thing's hand is through the vent, it like grabs it.
Yes.
Like, that's what that reminds me of. It's like, and they see it touch his hair.
Yeah, they see it come down and they see it like touch his hair. It's like,
I would have peed my pants 100% right there on the spot.
Well, and so they all scream. I mean, they're all freaking out, and I'm sure they're screaming just like the 12-year-old girl inside all of us would scream because that is the only correct scream in those moments. Yes. And so they pull him back in while Lucky is shooting at it.
Oh my gosh!
And then Lucky shoots at that, but then he realizes there's another one in a tree nearby, so he's shooting at that one too.
Oh my gosh.
And the one in the tree, it just kind of floated to the ground and then ran into the woods.
Ow.
So we're going to shoot forward to 11 p.m. At this point, they're done. They're like, we cannot do this anymore.
They're terrified.
They're terrified. Like,
yes.
It's horrible. And so,
understandably so.
As a group, they run to their cars and they hightail it to Hopkinsville to the police. And they're like driving top speed. So they come busting into the police station and they were genuinely like terror stricken. And like the police immediately believed every single ridiculous thing they were saying because here are 8 adults, 3 children freaking the shit out. And like the police chief at the time basically was like, you know, these are the kind of people that just grab their guns and solve problems. They don't come to us. And so
like people who were like, I'm terrified of this thing. I just, like you said, you know, we just go and we shoot it and then we bury it and we're done with it.
Yeah.
But I mean, people are like having a cow and like almost a literal cow. And they're just like, what is happening?
And so the police, I mean, I am thrilled because in this day and age, the police department would be like, sure. All right. Mm-hmm. But they absolutely believed it and immediately called for backup. So, like, the local police, the state police, and the military police from Fort Campbell all descended upon this farmhouse.
Wow.
And
That's
also a
crazy.
photographer came along, because you gotta have a
Yeah.
photographer. Yeah, obviously. And so, like, they're searching around and looking, and they're finding shell casings from where they've shot at something, but they don't see anything else. They can't find anything else. They don't see any creatures. But one of the other things is,
I guess they didn't hurt it, so they didn't find any kind of like blood or where the creatures have been hit or anything like
No.
that. So
no. But they also noticed that they couldn't find like any alcohol or anything in which to blame this on. Like, oh, maybe they just got drunk and spooked themselves or whatever.
Mhm.
They could find nothing. And Glennie was very adamant that she did not allow liquor in her house. So
she was one of those people.
Well,
she's
I
a
mean,
teetotaler.
it was Kentucky in the 1950s. I don't know what you want.
I mean,
it was
that's
that part
fair.
of Kentucky.
That's,
that
yeah.
part. Not the good bourbon drinking part.
No. Mm-mm.
So, like, they looked around or whatever, but then they couldn't find anything, and so everybody left, leaving the family in their, farmhouse all alone again. And the creatures came back as soon as all the cops were gone.
Oh my gosh.
So apparently they were back, and they were there from about 2:30 in the morning until daybreak, which is probably 6
So
something.
that shows that they were somewhat intelligent, obviously, since they,
But Glennie was like, she saw one glowing by her bedside window. Its claw-like hand was on the screen, like, next to her, and she was like, the heck? And so the police came back the next day to do a more thorough search. They couldn't find anything. Couldn't find, like, any damage on the roof, any scratches, anything. But, of course, the story was very quickly picked up by, like, the national press because, I mean, it was actually one of the first times that aliens had, like, there had been flying saucers and unidentified objects in the air kind of thing, but actual alien interaction was a new one.
But, like,
really.
The first time that we have actually seen people possibly emerge from one of these flying saucers.
Right.
I like using human-esque instead of humanoid.
Human-esque.
These human-esque creatures emerged from what possibly could have been a flying saucer, what he saw with his rainbow exhaust and all that. I mean, because
Every
before it was just it's just like, these are the spaceship things. We don't know what they are. But then now it's like, oh, there are creatures inside of them. This is even more frightening.
Yes, this is way worse. Because I think before that, the assumption had been that UFOs / aliens were only around because at that point, humanity had created nuclear bombs, atomic bombs, very destructive, to kind of just come in and check to make sure that we weren't, because they thought they were probably from Mars. They were Martians coming to be like, don't be fucking shit up, but this is the first time that something came out. So, like, it was everywhere. And even, like, their farm was almost, like, immediately descended upon by the masses. And so they tried to start charging, like, money to come onto the property and stuff. People are like, you're just doing it for money, it's fake. And they're like, no, you're just here, so can we have your money?
Right?
But somewhere, well, and somewhere,
nosy, so we're gonna capitalize off of this.
Right? Well, because it was like, you're on our property, you need to pay us $1, kind of a thing. Like, that's fair. That's fair. It was like $2 for an interview and $10 for a tour. I don't know. I don't quite remember what it was now, but at some point,
still, I mean, that's fair, because if you're gonna, like, come in and disrupt their lives, I mean.
Again, let's remember, they are Carney folk, and they ran in the middle of the night screaming like the 12-year-old girls that we all are deep inside to the police. We're like, holy fucking shit. I can't get beyond it. But somewhere along the way in the newspapers picking this story up, the Suttons were misquoted, and little gray men, which is what they really were, because they were like a silvery metallic gray men, somehow became a misquote of little green men. So again, newspapers fucked it up, and now everyone says little green men, even though that's not what they saw.
Because I was getting ready
And
to ask, I was like, they just kept saying silver,
yeah,
silver, silver glow, silver haze. It's like, so I was getting ready to be like, I don't, where the green come in? So it was just a
right?
misquote again.
Another
Okay.
misquote. Isn't that hysterical? So I sent you a picture of the little men as described by the Suttons.
I did see
And
that as well.
I'm pretty confident that it is Mothman. Like it's
I mean, maybe like a smaller version of it.
baby Mothman. Ooh.
Yeah. But you know what? It also kind of looks like Stitch from Lilo
It
and
does.
Stitch.
Oh my God, Stitch. I wonder if they
Just
use
the
this as the
head.
inspiration for Stitch.
Just the head
Yeah.
does, really. Because I mean, Stitch had like multiple appendages. Had like 4 arms and then his legs. But I mean, I feel like, yeah, the head on this looks remarkably similar to Stitch from Lilo and Stitch.
But I love it because like it's and again we'll post this on Instagram for audio only people, and you'll see a picture of it on our YouTube feed here. But I love the description. It's like its ears were swept back, extended quite a bit above the crown of the head. The head was almost round, bald, and the same color as the body. But this is my favorite. Nose. None. One man stated very strongly, there was none. Apparently it really bothered him that there was not a nose.
It's a spawn of Voldemort? I mean...
Let's see. The eyes were yellow center, white rim, about 6 inches apart, which, that's a lot. And they were glowing. The mouth was a thin line, but they're not sure if there really was a mouth or if it was something else that they were seeing. The body, powerful above the waist, muscles clearly seen. So they work out. Yeah.
They're swole.
But they only do like arms and chest, because below the waist they were thin and spindly. Almost no shape to legs, stick-like. Their hands were oversized, talons were 2 or 3 inches long, webbing between the fingers, starting about the knuckle above the talons. Their feet were not seen, so they didn't see their feet. And they're not sure how many knuckles they had.
I love how it says neck. None.
Yeah.
It's like
no neck. There was no neck. But they weren't adamant about it like the nose. They were adamant. Yeah. There was none. There was no nose. So, of course, come back to my page. So, as I said, little green men, yada yada, not real. So several years later, some random dude whose name I've not bothered to write down because this to me was so fucking ridiculous, went through the accounts to try and figure out what the Suttons really saw, because he refuses to believe in the aliens that are coming to destroy us all. And decided that what the Suttons had really seen that night, they just misidentified as great horned owls.
That is fucking bush.
I was like, excuse me?
That doesn't look like... Okay, and here's why I say that. These people live on a fucking farm.
Yes.
Okay? These are not city folk.
Nope.
They're Carnies.
They're Carnies.
They're farmers. They go out, these people, they go out and they probably kill their own food. I mean, it makes it sound like they're not one of the type of people who go into town very much.
Yeah.
Whoever this guy is, I feel like he's full of shit. Because I feel like these people would have known what a fucking owl looks like. And I feel like owls do not glow silver. I'm just saying. It's like... Because I just want to look at this guy who wrote it and be like, have you seen a horned owl?
Well, and he was just like...
Have you interacted with a horned owl?
Well, and he was like... So, the horned owls were reacting aggressively because their nest had been disturbed, and that's why this was happening. And I was like, no, don't get me wrong. I mean, owls are vicious, cruel creatures that are gorgeous and beautiful, and I love them. And, don't piss off an owl because it will kill you. Kicks and giggles. But, there's owls acting aggressively, and then there's human-esque creatures looking into your window screens. Like, it's not the same thing.
Right.
They had electricity. They just didn't have anything else. So it's like they had light.
Right.
I'm like, did the owls like build a spaceship to land right nearby? Because that's what happened first. Our Carney guy
I mean,
Billy
let's
was
just be
like, I
honest,
watched this silver thing, you know.
With owls, you can't really see their legs
No.
because of the way their bodies are. Like, that's no. I call Bush on that guy and
Yes.
his. That's no. Wrong. Nope.
And so there you have it. The story of flying saucers and the story of little green men. Both of them are wrong. They're not real.
That's funny that they were both
wrong.
misquoted.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That's ironic. I just feel like that's just like, everybody's stereotype in their head is all because of two newspaper misquotes.
So they're little gray men, and they're flying crescent-shaped things that fly like a saucer being skipped across water.
Yes. Well, that was excellent, and thank you for educating us on everybody's misquotes.
I know. And that's where it all started, and it all goes down here from there. But
oh, that's true.
Those are lesser known, I suppose, UFO stories. Maybe not quite as exciting as whatever you're going to bring us, Claire. What have you brought us this week?
So I'm specifically talking about what happened in Roswell, New Mexico.
Yay!
So,
Alien
so
Mecca.
it was like, yes, I know. I kind of want to go there.
Me too.
After reading things about it, I'm like, I want to go there and I want to eat at a McDonald's that's shaped like a UFO.
Yes, a flying disc, I'm sure. A flying saucer. It's better,
right? So anyway, I got my stuff from Wikipedia, an article on livescience.com by David Crooks, and then history.com.
I love history.com. We'll have to support them somehow.
Absolutely. So it was like June or July of 1947, and a guy named William Mac Brazel he worked on the J.B. Foster Ranch, which is like 75 miles north of Roswell. And he came across this wreckage and said it was a large area of bright wreckage made up of rubber strips, tinfoil, a rather tough paper, and sticks.
Sticks. Sure.
Yeah.
Science project gone wrong. Got it.
I know, right? And so at this point, based on April's story, sightings, this would not have been the first thing, obviously. This, Kenneth Arnold with Mount Rainier and his 9 UFOs flying around. And at that point, it was, like the Air Force, they didn't have any new tech, is what they said. They didn't have the technology to even make this stuff. So the Air Force was pretty like, it's not us. We don't know what we don't know what you saw, dude.
I don't know.
So because of like other things that have been happening with all these other, how you talked about all these other states with their, UFO sightings, all that, Brazel on July 7th he collects all the debris, sticks it in a box, and takes it to the sheriff in Roswell, and it's George Wilcox. And so Sheriff Wilcox contacts Colonel William Blanchard of the Roswell Army Airfield to come look at this stuff. Next day, the people from the Roswell Army Airfield, they come in, and the info officer, Walter Hott, said that the rumors became the reality because they had gained possession of a disc from a local rancher and sheriff. So that was like his news statement. So that he went out, that was like his official... It's a flying
disc.
Yeah, that was like his official statement was, we have this disc. And it's like, there was nothing about that debris that said disc, but whatever.
It's like, we have a disc. We have aliens.
Right. So then at this point, a guy named Major Jesse Marcel, which he's the one I think is like the one they keep coming back to in this story. He was at the scene, and he had some of this debris that he was supposed to take back, and I guess for them to analyze and all that.
Right.
He stops by his house. He has all this stuff in a box in his trunk, because they go back out to the scene and they find more pieces, collect more things. So he has this stuff in his trunk, and he makes a detour, stops by his house to show his 10-year-old son, Jesse Jr.
That's a good dad. That's a good dad move. Hey, Kim,
And
look, I
so,
brought you alien stuff.
yeah. And so the kid takes a look at it, and they talked to him, later on in life, but he said when he saw it that it had what he thought looked like hieroglyphics at
Right.
first. But then he said there weren't any of like the animals that you see with like the Egyptian hieroglyphics, that kind of thing. That it was mostly like circles and triangles. There weren't really any like actual letters, not a lot of pictures. It was mostly just shapes and kind of,
So, geometry. Got it.
Yeah.
Geometrical communications.
Yeah. And so at that time, the army did come out and debunked it and said, this is not what you think it is. It's a weather balloon. That was the army.
Is not what you think it is. It is a weather balloon.
Yes, because at the time, what they said, well, I guess I'll save that because it didn't come out until the 90s when they said this.
Right.
But so army comes out and it's like, no, this is not, it's not a UFO. That's wrong. So things kind of die down,
right,
with the UFOs. I mean, you still have sightings, but it's not like, so then it makes a resurgence in the 70s, especially like 1978. There was a nuclear physicist and UFO researcher. Like, I want that to be my job.
Yeah.
I'm just researching UFOs. Named Stanton Friedman, who interviewed Jesse Marcel, the guy who had the stuff in his trunk. And he said what he had in his trunk, he said, I really feel like that's not from this world. And the government made me keep it quiet. Because when the army came out and said it was a weather balloon, they made him pose with the debris for photos.
I remember that.
So there are all
I've seen
these
that picture.
photos. Yeah, all these photos with him posing with this debris that they found. And he was like, they made me do that. They made me say this, that, and the other, that it's not. But he said, I really feel like it was otherworldly. And so Friedman visited the crash site.
Right.
And, interviewed more witnesses, came out with more stuff, people who had seen other things. And so his work inspired these two guys, Moore and Berlitz, to write a book called The Roswell Incident that came out in 1980, which essentially said what Jesse Marcel said was, it's a government cover-up. It was some kind of alien aircraft, and the government made me say it was a weather balloon.
Right.
So that book, and then plus you had at the time lots of pop culture things like Star Wars and Close Encounters of the Third Kind, especially that,
one of the random things I read was that Close Encounters of the Third Kind was the government trying to get Americans and whoever else watched it, essentially, to embrace the concept of friendly aliens.
Probably. I don't put that past them.
No.
At all.
And I was like, what?
I really don't.
Friendly aliens.
Like, oh, these aliens are friendly. And then, shit like Independence Day comes out.
Well,
it's
right,
like, Yeah.
Well, and, Men in Black.
Right. So because like Star Wars, Close Encounters, you've got these movies in the 70s that are like right up this alley, that the sightings of UFOs start to pick up again in the 70s. And, things about Roswell are coming back. And also found a thing that said there was an Unsolved Mysteries episode in 1989 that wasn't specifically about Roswell. And a guy named Glenn Dennis said that his friend was one of the ones who worked in, like, I guess, the crash site, and said that his friend actually saw alien bodies. So he calls in the hotline, Robert Stack and Unsolved Mysteries, which haunts all millennials and zennials' dreams.
And those episodes, the ones that were like the spooky alien-y ghosty ones, were scarier than the serial killers. I swear to God.
I know, right?
Because you're like,
100%. There was one about a chupacabra, and I was like, this is terrifying. Like, you watch it now, and you're like, okay, this is really hokey. But as a kid, that was like the stuff your nightmares were made of. Or like you said, not the ones where it was like, oh, this person is missing. That kind of stuff interests me as well. But the ones that were very supernatural and extraterrestrial and, all the, like cryptids, anything about any of the cryptids that's like out in the woods, those always freaked me out more than anything. But so this guy calls the hotline and tells them, like, I have a friend who told me that he saw alien bodies, like at the site that they've covered. Again, it's a cover-up. It's all a cover-up. And so I guess, you get to 1994, and this is where I'm just like, I feel like you've lied to us once. What's to say you're not lying to us again, Air Force? So the Air Force comes out again and says, oh, our bad. We had to lie to you. It wasn't a weather balloon. It was a classified project where it was a balloon of some sort, but not a weather balloon, where we send microphones up on these balloons, and we're trying to pick up the sound of Soviet A-bomb tests. It was called Project Mogul, and it was from 1947 to 1949 because the Cold War was like in full swing.
And so are you seeing my eye blinks right now?
Yes.
Just, sure. We couldn't tell you the real thing. I mean, you could have been like, we have a thing. It's in the air. That's probably, it would be like, yeah, that's ours. That's something we're working on. And just not tell us. That'd be fine. We'd all just be like, oh.
But yeah, so that's why I'm just like, so you're admitting that you lied.
Yeah.
Why should we believe this story? I mean...
Who cares? Who cares to be like, we put microphones in the air to hear testing? Like, I think we could even tell Soviet Russia that. They'd be like, whatever. Of course you're trying to find out what we're doing. That's what literally every country does all the time. What are they doing over there?
But I'm also like, why? Which, I mean, at the time also, there was, and then what was it? Around this time, Marcel, I guess in one of the interviews, they had released that Jesse Marcel had said that he had pieces of the wreckage that he had saved and hidden in the top of his water heater, but nobody ever found them. So I don't know.
This seems like a really bad place to hide them. Why would you?
Right.
Like, I mean,
I don't know.
Why would you not put them in a box and write family pictures? Because no one's ever gonna look there.
Right. Oh my gosh.
Or even just write like secret sex tapes. People are like, I don't want to see that.
Like, no, we're not gonna breach that box. No.
Red room.
No.
I mean,
right? Yeah. But you see, it's Cold War. I mean, and I feel like that's plausible, because the Cold War was bad. Like, everybody was terrified of the Soviets, and I mean, all those bomb shelters,
But I mean,
bomb
there's
shelters
no
were a thing.
harm in. I don't see the point of just being of the government. I mean, obviously the government's stupid. I mean, no offense, government, but like they don't always make the best life choices.
Oh right.
But I don't understand why they wouldn't have already had in place a story to go to. Basic crisis management here, guys. Super basic.
Right.
For when one of those things gets in, falls onto Earth and someone finds it, gets in the enemy's hands, and they're making a big deal about it. Like, you have to have a story ready to go. Such as, we're working on a new thing.
Happens. Yeah.
To be like, yeah, we sent a new kind of weather balloon in the air. We're trying something different. Make up a word that doesn't exist, and people be like, okay, or just a really hard to pronounce word.
Right.
And be like, oh, okay, whatever. I mean, you don't even have to say it's super secret Soviet project. You can be like, we're trying to learn more about air patterns. I mean, you can just make up a myriad of shit on the spot, so why didn't they have a story ready? I mean, especially for testing, shit fails. It's a test. It's a test.
Yes. Yeah.
Ugh.
And yeah, they just weren't prepared, I guess.
Isn't that like their fucking
combat
motto?
any kind of questioning at this point. Because, I mean, the places like where they were in the desert, I mean, people were not, I mean, they were testing, you know, A-bomb stuff and had like atomic research going on. And I'll get to that in a minute. But then in 1997, they also had a follow-up report that said that the alien bodies that were supposedly seen were just crash test dummies from the balloons and the parachutes.
Okay, whoa. I'm gonna Google 40s, right? 1940s crash test dummies. I want to know what that looks like.
I mean, I don't know.
That's why I'm just saying. I'm like,
you're just like, I just want to know what these look like.
I'm like, okay, let me see. 1940s crash test dummies image. I mean, okay, these are terrifying. I won't lie.
We'll have to put that on the Instagram too.
Like those
look like life-size, like the little mannequins that you get that you can pose when you're learning how to draw.
I mean, they look really fucking
those
scary.
Look like life-size versions of that.
But like
God,
they also have
terrifying.
I mean, I feel like this is this guy is the most accurate. Let's see.
Okay. Yeah.
So like
I can see that.
it just but they look like chunks of wood. Like it. Yeah. That guy probably is an early crash test of. But I'm not going to mistake a hunk of wood, because that's what they were most likely made out of, even if it is human-esque shaped, as the body of an alien. I'm not gonna be like, oh my god, it's an alien. I mean, I at least would have poked it with a stick. I mean, basic checking of life there. If you poke it with a stick and it moves, run. But
right,
I'm like, if you poked it, I don't understand. That's not something that I would misjudge.
So I guess that was their way of combating anything that like people like Glenn Dennis said, you know, oh, I had a friend who saw the bodies.
It's just the great horned owl bullshit of the the poor Sutton family. I mean, you're probably just great horned owls. It's probably just a crash test dummy. I'm not stupid. I'm not.
But I'm like, up until now, there had never been anything about like parachuting. It was all, it's just balloons. It's a weather balloon. It's a balloon that had microphones. But then I'm like, but why now all of a sudden are there crash test dummies that are associated with parachuting from these balloons? Like, that doesn't make sense to me either. So the Army, like I said, Air Force, doubling down, saying, well, we were doing stuff, but y'all just couldn't know about it. So we had to just say, oh no, it was a weather balloon, you know, that kind of thing. So there are some conspiracy theories that come along with this as well, because some people were saying that the Army was keen to let people think it was a UFO for a time being because of the testing they were doing in the area, because they were doing some, it was like around Roswell and some other ranch areas, you know, out in the desert where they were testing A-bombs. They had a facility out there that they were doing atomic research on.
Okay, sure. I mean, it makes sense. Yeah.
And they also had captured a German V-2 rocket. So they were also detonating that and dissecting that, you know, from World War II kind of thing. You know, because World War II had just ended at this point.
Right.
It had been over. It only been over like 2 years in 1947.
Right.
So, I mean, they were out in the desert, you know, doing lots of, and they also had like an atomic bomb squadron, you know, out there. So they were keen to, this is the theory, they were keen to let people believe that it was the UFO to take attention off what they were really doing. But then you have the people who come out and say that doesn't make any sense, because you would think if you're doing all this testing and you have all this, sensitive equipment and objects out here from, World War II that you're trying to like get like with German tech and that kind of thing and the atomic bomb, that you wouldn't want people to have that kind of attention on you.
Right.
Which, I mean, I agree with. You wouldn't want people to like, oh, let's make a trek out here and see if we can find more alien debris, and you stumble upon some kind of hidden military facility in the middle of the desert, Like, no, that's not.
Yeah, that does not make sense. Like a nice, normal, boring story of something stupid would have been served way more. Be like, oh yeah, that's one of our things. Everybody would be like, okay.
Right.
And then we never would have heard it from it again.
But this is my favorite of the conspiracy theories of what this actually was. This is my most favorite.
I'm excited.
That all of it, they're blaming on Stalin. Yes.
When in doubt, blame Stalin.
Let me tell you, when I read that, I cackled basically like you just did, because I was like, wait, what? And so all of this was a giant plan by Stalin and the Soviets to induce panic in the U.S. Okay?
Thank you, Stalin? Did they think that plan all the way through? I mean...
That was one of the theories, is that all this was done by Stalin. Okay, and so this is what happened, is that it was like a Soviet aircraft, and what had happened was they loaded it with children who had been deformed by the Soviets in some way, and so they didn't look totally human. They looked kind of alien.
And deformed human children.
Yes.
Okay, keep going. This feels accurate for Stalin, all right.
And this part came from the history.com article. They had been deformed by the Soviets to look alien. They were on this spacecraft. And then they were deployed over, and when it crashed, they were to climb out of the wreckage so people would see them.
But
so people would be afraid, and it would cause mass panic throughout the U.S.
Okay. Questions. So if it crashed and they all died, which makes the most sense, like maybe for a few minutes until the scientists were like doing the autopsies and being like, oh no, they're actually human. What happened to them?
Unless it was all like taken back to some kind of military facility and they didn't actually have autopsies done on them. I don't know.
Well, you know that the military absolutely would do autopsies. I mean, that's...
Oh, yes.
But I mean, too, if they didn't die and were able to crawl from the wreckage in order to terrify people, wouldn't their Russian accent give it away?
Right? I mean, unless they just didn't speak. Unless they were just like told not to talk. I don't know. No, these are valid questions that I have no answers to.
And like, I'm totally here for like the brainwashing of children and all that's fine, but I just can't imagine that all of them would just be like, okay, and following along the entire time instead of after surviving a crash being like, help me, or whatever. I mean, I feel like this is the plot of like some ridiculous movie. Like a Austin Powers Dr. Evil plot. We'll build a ship. We'll put deformed children in the ship. Then we will crash the ship and the deformed children will crawl out and it will scare them. And they will pay us $1 million.
That's right. We'll be terrified of the Soviets forever.
Instead of being
I don't know
like...
that he wanted us terrified of the Soviets. I think it was very much he wanted the U.S. to just like have mass panic. And that would make them unprepared for anything. I don't know.
Dude, he doesn't... He did not understand how to do mass panic. That wasn't it. Because people were already like super obsessed with UFOs even before the Kenneth Arnold viewing, sighting, whatever. Like there had been other things that had occurred previously. So, well, and especially
Also,
after the
like
Kenneth Arnold sighting, that it would have just been like,
yeah,
weird. That's the best.
Yeah, this was
That's
from the history article. Yeah, it says another questionable theory advanced by the book Area 51, an uncensored history of America's top secret military base, states that the crashed flying vehicle was neither extraterrestrial nor a work of U.S. spies. Rather, it was an unconventional plan to induce widespread panic, American panic, implemented by Soviet strongman Joseph Stalin. Oh, and there's Nazis involved in this too. An unnamed
of
source.
Course. We gotta have Nazis. The 100%. Nazis did it.
Yeah. An unnamed source who worked as an engineer at Area 51 for the defense contractor EG&G told the book's author Annie Jacobson, a veteran national security journalist and Pulitzer Prize nominee, that the program had been designed by a Nazi concentration camp doctor, Joseph Mengele. I'm not sure if that's how you say that. Mingle. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. According to the source,
he was sick and twisted, so that's fair.
Oh yeah, I'd say anybody who's a concentration camp doctor is like the worst.
I think he's the guy that did like the crazy twin experiments, like super dark fucking bastard.
Oh, yes.
So I can absolutely see him, just deforming children for kicks and giggles, and then be like, "Oh, we'll scare people with them."
That's what it says. According to the source, adolescent children were deformed by the Soviets to resemble aliens and then deployed in an aircraft to fly over New Mexico. According to this book, Stalin's plan was for the children to climb out and be mistaken for visitors from Mars. Panic would ensue, and America's early warning radar system would be overwhelmed with sightings of UFOs.
Okay. Okay, fine. I mean, okay, sure. That seems like a really long-term plan. I mean, how long does it take to deform the children to look like aliens in order to make that come to fruition? I'm just...
Yeah.
Okay.
But, like you said, I could absolutely see that Nazi doctor. Like, yeah, let's take these children in the concentration camps and throw acid on them or do some other bullshit experiments to where they're completely unrecognizable as humans. And then we're going to try to let the U.S. say that they're aliens. I mean, I don't even know.
I mean, they just really thought we were stupid then. That's the best one. That's the best one.
I mean,
in fact, that's going to be, anytime it comes up from now on, that is what I'm going to tell people. Actually.
Right.
It was a plot created by Stalin with the help of Joseph Mengele.
Right.
Oh my god. What a great story, Claire. Thank you.
But it's just like, I feel like this is the kind of story where you're just like, yeah, can't trust the government. Not at all.
No.
Nope.
I feel like we should be wearing our tinfoil hats right now.
I know, right? Like, it's just like this. Oh, and where they were else, that's where I couldn't remember. It was Los Alamos and White Sands. In Roswell, out in that area where they had all the testing. The German V2 rocket was in White Sands, and the atomic research facility was in Los Alamos. So, yeah.
Busy place.
I agree with whoever said that theory is bush too, because I'm like you. They probably wouldn't want anybody out there.
No.
I mean, I feel like that's like right up there with, like when people, what was it, in recent years, people saying that they're going to rush Area 51.
Yes. Oh, man.
To, like, we want to know what Area 51 is, and it's like, and they're basically like, if you show up, you will be arrested and probably shot. So, I mean, it's like, I feel like that's kind of the same mentality they would have had at those places had anybody, tried to find something in White Sands or Los Alamos,
Yeah.
So, but yeah, this is a crazy story.
But I
I
feel
mean, and
like
it's one of those that keeps coming back. It was like,
right,
oh, it kind
right.
of died down, and then now we're back in the 70s, and it kind of
Well,
died down, and then the Air Force felt led to release some other bullshit excuse in the 90s. I mean,
well, in last year, the the government released several classified documents and things related to UFOs. They all became unclassified because enough time had passed. And so it
yeah,
kind of reinvigorated everything again because then we were like, oh, there are UFOs. You're saying they're real, but we're still going to pretend like they're not.
right,
So
yeah.
it's like, okay, government, sure,
And I mean,
sure,
and this
sure.
is just my own personal thing. I really feel like us as a human race would have to be really, what's the word I'm looking for? Like the audacity to believe that we are actually the only
Yeah,
creatures, intelligent life
in the
in
entire universe.
all of the cosmos. I
Yeah.
mean, you know, that's one of the things that blows my mind in general is just information about space. Like you see all these things and you're like, see this picture and they'll like circle that little bitty dot and they'll be like, this little dot down here has 100 million galaxies in it.
Right.
And you're just like, wait, what?
Well,
you know?
and I saw one of the like Netflix explained episodes was talking about alien life, and they broke it down to like percentage possibilities of stars that were like the sun that and the probability of planets that were like the earth and like on the lowest level of probability like because it's a range obviously
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
at the very lowest it's still like a ridiculously high percent chance that there is intelligent life all over the universe. Not just, I mean, like it may not be
100%.
super close.
100%.
We may not know it in our lifetimes because we don't have the technology to get far in space yet.
Yeah.
And, they may be older, younger than us, who knows, and look very different, but like it's just one of those the audacity that believing in the entire universe that there's only this one tiny little dot that created life is stupid.
Absolutely.
It's like that's not how math works.
I know, right? I really do feel like it's just, it's out there. Will we ever see it? Who knows? I mean,
I don't want to see it like the Suttons did where they're like at my window and I'm freaking out. I don't want that.
Yes, no. Nobody needs that in their life. No.
That sounds awful. Let's not do that. And also
yes.
like from doing these stories, I was working last night finishing up my notes before I went to sleep. So I'm just laying in bed. I'm listening to Dateline because that's what I do. And I'm working on my notes. And Spencer is in like the living room, so down the hall a ways. And I keep hearing something on our back deck. And I know there's nothing out there, but like I hear like that the sound
it's right there, like your bedroom. It's like right off your bedroom. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like I had to get up and close the curtains because like I can't see what's out there. I'm freaking myself out. The aliens are coming. This is it. It's my time. I'm getting abducted. Like
you're like, no, I can't do that.
And I'm doing kind of funny stories, and they're still freaking me out because it's dark and I'm a chicken, and it's fine.
Right. But anyway, yeah, Roswell. It's a pretty fucked up story.
Yes, so we're gonna go there sometime.
Yes.
We have to.
I think so. I mean, I just want to, like I said, I just want to go see all the kitschy alien stuff.
I want to eat my chicken nuggets in a flying saucer. That's very important to me.
Yes.
It is my new life goal. Transitioning to our weekly tarot. And welcome to our weekly tarot reading with Aprile. There's nothing quite like having Aprile try and read your tarot when she has not trained at all. Not at all. Right. We have our magical moon lamp, as you can see, slowly changing colors.
I do like I like the color change this week.
I enjoy the slow change. See, look at this. It's lovely.
I love that. Yeah, that's nice.
All right, so here are our cards, Claire. Tell me when to stop shuffling.
Okay. Mm. Stop.
Are you ready?
I'm ready. This is still without the inverted cards, right?
Oh, well, no, I've been shuffling a lot, so there probably are inverted ones. So,
Okay.
whoops.
All right. Okay.
It'll
I just
be
remember
fun.
last time you were like...
I wasn't ready. I'm still not ready, but I've already done it. So here we are.
Okay.
All right. So this is our 3-card spread. How our week starts, how it will go, and how it will end. Are you ready?
Ready. Hit me.
We have the 7 of Swords.
Didn't we have that last time?
Didn't we have that last time?
I thought we'd... Yeah. Deception.
We
Disgrace.
The 3 of Pentacles.
Okay.
It is inverted.
Oh, the pentacle is inverted?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And we have the Queen of Cups.
We had her last time, too.
That's weird. You saw me shuffle these.
Yes.
You saw me
no,
move these around.
I mean, yes.
Apparently...
Because last time it was...
we had
the
Judgment
middle card...
first, I remember. But...
Yeah, the middle card was different. Yeah.
Let's see. So we start our week with the 7 of Swords. I think you're right. I think that's what we had last week, which is terrifying. Yep. So we're back to we're starting our week with deception and betrayal and selfishness. Yes. Aren't you excited?
Well, we see how that went for me last week.
Well, this is just tomorrow. So tomorrow sucks. Maybe Monday sucks. I don't know. Then we have our inverted 3 of Pentacles. Dun, dun, dun. Okay. This is not a great week. This card indicates the beginning of a project, but one that requires teamwork. However, you play a role in this too, and it seems that your efforts are finally getting recognized. Let your skills and capabilities shine, but remember that your fate is currently tied to others. But it's reversed. So that means lack of growth, carelessness, lack of teamwork, and lack of concentration.
Ew. Ew, that sounds awful.
It sounds awful.
That sounds awful.
All right. But it's okay, because we still have our Queen of Cups, who is warm-hearted and emotionally secure.
And not inverted.
And not inverted, so she's our compassion, calm, nurturing one. So we'll just let her guide our week as much as we can.
I mean, for real.
I want to redraw. How did I do that? How did we get
right?
the 2 of the same cards? And they were not on top of each other, because the Pentacles was in between. So.
Yeah, that's what's, yeah.
And
that's why I let you go a little bit longer with the shuffling, because...
Well, and I had been shuffling through a couple of times this week, like just playing around with them while I was working on something else, like deception.
I know, that's a
disgrace. But we have a lovely moon lamp, so
that is lovely. Well, we're just gonna have to tread lightly this week, I guess.
Yes. And back to us. Yay.
All right, so time for the Wheel of Fate.
Of Fate.
Yes. So let's go ahead and click this bad boy and see what we're talking about
next week. No whammy, no whammy.
I'm sure it will be just as enlightening. Oh, you're gonna love this. It's one of Brandon's picks.
Oh, goody.
My boyfriend. Racing / motorsports.
Woohoo! I'm so excited. Racing / motorsports. I wonder when... I have one. I have one. Oh my god, I have one. I have one. Yes. It's not what he wants, but I have one. Technically racing.
Like you said, there are no rules. We might be talking about Mario Kart at this point.
I mean, there's lots of racing that's not you know, specifically a motorsport. I can race.
Right.
Racing.
I know that
Yay!
he's like talking like NASCAR and IMSA and Le Mans
But
and
thank goodness this is our show and not his.
I know, right?
You'll have
He's
to
gonna
tell
be
him
so
tonight, though.
excited that that's what we're talking about. And I'm gonna be like, yeah, but don't be, because
Well,
we'll find a way around it.
Just don't tell him. Make him listen to it. Be like, no, you have to listen to it. Support our podcast.
Oh,
It's
yes.
racing.
He gave me all the crazy stuff. I was just like, really? He's like, no, write it down. I'm like, why? Anywho, so yeah, next week.
Which reminds us that you can send us your own topic choices to enter into our Wheel of Fate by
That's right. Emailing us at brunchandjudge at I'll say that again, brunchandjudge@gmail.com.
That's right. And you can find all of the fun images from this episode of our aliens and whatever random memes we make as a result.
Yes.
On our Instagram account, which is
Brunch and Judge.
And
everything is just Brunch and Judge.
If you are listening to us on audio, you can also see our lovely faces and our excited expressions by following our YouTube channel, which is also Brunch and Judge. Yeah, there's a theme. We have a theme.
We're keeping it simple.
And if you want to listen to us on podcasts because you hate our faces, also acceptable. You can listen to us on all the podcast places. So until next time, keep on brunching.
Keep on judging.
And we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Brunch and Judge. Brunch and Judge. We brunch and judge everything and give you opinions that nobody asked for.